Saw X is gory, over the top, and 100% unapologetically Saw. Hey everyone, my name is Gavin and I love horror. Believe it or not, today I'll be reviewing the 10th installment of the long-running franchise Saw X. The 10th Saw movie? Ugh. Can't wait to see how bad this one turned out to be. Wait a second. Is this one actually good? And could it be the best Saw movie in the entire franchise? Let's play a game and get into it. Before we get started, be sure to leave a like for this video and subscribe to the channel. It all helps me out a ton and I appreciate your continued support. I'll get to the traps, the kills, and that glorious gore at the end of the review. But first I want to be upfront with you and tell you that I am a huge fan of the Saw franchise. It's one of my absolute favorites of all time, and I have fond memories of checking out the latest Saw movie each year when they were released. It really felt like how people in the 80s felt when there was like a new Friday the 13th or Nightmare on Elm Street movie released every year. Each year, I remember getting so excited for the new Saw movie, seeing how they would expand on the mythos, what the twist would be, even if everything did get very, confusing, convoluted, and kind of timey-wimey in Saws 4 through 7. Regardless, my love for the Saw franchise never wavered, so when I heard they were making a Saw 10, I was very excited, and even more excited when I heard that Tobin Bell was returning to play John Kramer, the Jigsaw Killer. And thankfully, that excitement was not misplaced because Saw X is a true return to form for the series in the absolute best way. Saw X takes place between Saw 1 and Saw 2, arguably the high point of the franchise. But hey, don't sleep on Saw 6. Saw 6 was dope. John Kramer, of course, still suffering from that terminal brain cancer. Trying to find a cure for that, he comes across a cancer survivor who says there's an experimental procedure in Mexico that he got to cure his pancreatic cancer. So John Kramer's like, hey, think I'm going to Mexico to see about getting this brain cancer cured. John does travel to Mexico to have this procedure done to cure his brain cancer, but after having it completed, he quickly finds out that it was all a scam. If there's one thing you don't want to do, it's to scam Jigsaw. What happens next is truly remarkable for the Saw franchise in that it makes Jigsaw the protagonist of the film. Yes, Jigsaw has been the star of the movie the entire series, but this one really puts him up front and center and makes you weirdly rooting for him to succeed. The first 25 minutes of Saw X don't feel like a Saw movie, and it's such a breath of fresh air from what we're used to seeing in a Saw movie. Gone is like the heavily filtered green look to everything and the frantic editing that makes you feel like your head's about to explode. In preparation for Saw X, I rewatched all of the Saw movies over the course of 2 days, and by the end, my brain was basically mush, and all the movies started to blend together, and just you can't really tell one from the other. So having this more unique and more restrained style of filmmaking for Saw X really gave the movie a chance to breathe and really lets you appreciate the acting that Tobin Bell is doing. The story of Jigsaw getting revenge on people scamming terminally ill cancer patients out of money is a fairly simple plot compared to past Saw movies, but I will take a simple plot and a focused plot over whatever they were doing in later Saw movies where it felt like every other movie it was revealed that someone else was actually working with Jigsaw to help him. By Saw 7, I was also working with Jigsaw to help him. Here's proof. Speaking of working with Jigsaw, it was so great to have Shawnee Smith back as Amanda. Her performance in this is equally just as great as Tobin Bell's as Jigsaw. The Amanda and John relationship is one of the most complicated and one of the high points of the entire Saw franchise. It was great to be able to go back and revisit that in the early stages of their friendship / apprenticeship. Yeah, this all sounds nice, Gavin. Great plot. Tobin Bell gets to act. But what about the kills? What about the traps? What about the gore? Saw X is a little more laid back and restrained than previous Saw entries when the traps got so over the top that they seemed inconceivable to even make, yet alone have somebody survive or get into. But with that said, Saw X absolutely delivers. That eyeball scene that's in all the promotional posters, in the promotional trailer, with the guy with the tubes in the eyes, getting his eyes sucked out, that is the most tame trap in the movie. If you're worried that they showed everything in the trailer, they did not, because that trap doesn't seem like anything by the end of Saw X. Saw X features scenes of limb mutilation, self-inflicted brain surgery, and a scene that can only be described as Edward 40 hands with scalpels. Which I guess is just Edward Scissorhands now that I've said it out loud. Just when you think Saw had done everything in this genre, they do something like, oh, here's a game that involves sucking out your own bone marrow. Saw X is gory, over the top, and 100% unapologetically Saw. Saw X does have some downsides though, and most of those downsides come from if you overthink how he makes all these traps or how he gets all these things arranged in such a short time. Like, how does he have time to like get a radiation machine and rig it up like that? How did he get a brain surgery machine? Like, whatever, it's fine. As long as you don't overthink it, you're gonna be fine. I mean, that's a problem that the series has had from the beginning. You're like, how'd this terminally ill cancer man make all this? He welded a whole bunch. There's that requires a lot of welding and probably like a union contract. How'd he do it? Also, don't think about too much how John seems to account for every variable for every scenario, where like even when things don't work out, they still somehow do work out. So don't overthink that either, and you'll be fine. They do address that though at one time. At the end, he's like, well, it's not how he planned it, but it still worked out. So even John Kramer in the movie is like, yes, I know this seems far-fetched, but we got it done. Did you see the bone marrow scene? The other issue with Saw X, and this is more of an issue with the Saw franchise as a whole, is that the series has a problem trying to move forward. And that's a problem that you create when you kill off your terminally ill main villain in the third movie. They've tried making other characters the new Jigsaw, but most of those attempts have just fallen flat. Although during my series rewatch, I do really appreciate the character of Detective Hoffman and his portrayal by the actor Costas Mandylor. He does a great job during some of the worst Saw movies. But even with that, people still love John Kramer, and it's hard to keep finding new ways to bring him back when he's been dead for so long without doing a full-on Jason Lives and just making him a zombie man from beyond the grave. Overall, while the twists and turns of Saw X may never compare to those early entries in the franchise, Saw X is absolutely an incredible movie that I absolutely love from start to finish. Saw X is up there with Saw 1 and 2 as one of the strongest entries in the entire series, which is why I give Saw X a 4.5 out of 5. But what did you think? Did you enjoy the new Saw film, or were you just never a fan of Saw to begin with? Let me know in the comments below. Let me know what your favorite Saw movie is, and if you enjoyed Saw X. As always, leave a like for this video and subscribe to the channel for all kinds of great content. And until next time, stay weird.